We're live.
We are live. This is the first time we've been live in a long time, Matt. How you doing?
Yeah, good. It was a last-minute decision, wasn't it? But we just thought, why not?
Listen, there's nothing more serious in the world of Arsenal than a transfer story going up in flames. I couldn't go to sleep tonight without covering this absolutely important story. Benjamin Sesko said no to Arsenal. Are you okay, Matt? Let's first have a bit of a mental health check.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. I sometimes think you've got to look at everything in the context of what all the other clubs are doing. And if everyone else had made some mega signings and we were sitting on our hands doing absolutely nothing, I'd probably be more disappointed. But I don't want to tempt fate, but I have the feeling this might be a slower summer transfer window than previous years. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking PSR affecting some big clubs like Chelsea, like Villa, like Newcastle, City in a strange place with upcoming charges and do players want to go and risk it? So I think it might just be an all-round quieter summer window, and I'll probably be eating my words later on, but it's got that vibe about it.
Do you think PSR is having a cooling effect on the Premier League? People were like, listen, last season, like, don't worry about PSR, don't worry about PSR, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. And a few wrists have been slapped, and other clubs are looking around, they're like, I don't want a piece of that.
Yeah, I think it's impossible not to ignore it. Last summer was crazy. Everyone was spending big and pushing right up to the limit. So it may be that June the 30th is the key date. And once we click over into July and the new accounting window for clubs, I think it's a weird date for accounting, but I think it is. Everyone's talking about June the 30th. So maybe July is going to kickstart everything. But then we've got the Euros and Copa America and all of these tournaments slap bang in the middle of it. So all of that is no doubt playing a role in it.
I thought the big European and American tournaments would speed things up. No one wants to have to go in and negotiate a deal for a player that scored 6 goals and added 40 million to their price tag. No one wants to get James Rodriguez, as it were. Who was the Czech guy at Liverpool way back when? And he had an absolutely monster Euros. And he went there and he wasn't particularly good.
I do know the one you're talking about.
Was Diego Forlan a World Cup superstar?
He may have been. Who was that Czech guy? He had a headband.
He had a headband, dark hair, mousy looking guy. Yeah, I can't remember. I'll do a little Google. I've actually lost Matt off the stream, so it's me all on my own. Hopefully by the time I drop the music, we can just get into this. All right. Oh, here he is. Well, listen, Matt, we're going to Google during the intro music. Who was that?
Milan Barros.
Milan Barros. Yeah, he cost
Theo.
quite a lot of money, didn't he? Never really lived up to the hype.
He was all right.
He was okay. I'm trying to think. It was Jemba. He was a World Cup flop, wasn't he?
I'm sure there was another Czech guy though.
Karol Poborski was the OG.
Karol Poborski.
Yeah, Man United signed him. He was
all right.
No, I don't think he was. Oh, maybe he was okay.
He
won a league though, didn't he? He won a league.
Karol Poborski, that is a trip down memory lane.
Absolutely. Well, let's why don't we just get into it?
Mirror man, you twist and turn my mind until I don't know who I am. Mirror man.
Good morning and welcome to a new edition of the Arsenal Opinion Podcast. We are going live from my basement. I'm joined by a man like Matt Candela. How you doing today, Matt?
I'm good, mate. Excited to be going live. We've got 276 people in the room already. That is splendid, isn't it?
That is splendid. It's a small comedy club in here, but some of the things we've got to talk about today are definitely not joke-worthy, Matt. There have been 2 disappointments in the transfer market. There's articles already about the potential plan Bs. Man United have made big moves today. They've sent shockwaves through football, and I'm a little bit scared. But we've got a little tradition that we get into before we start. So we go
hottest of takes.
Hottest of take.
The hottest of take. The AOP, hottest of takes. Make it spicy.
Matt Candela, it's just me, you in the room. Where are you going to take this week's hottest of takes?
Well, it's impossible not to look beyond the striker conundrum. We've been talking about it since January. We thought we might try and strengthen there then. Certain people have been saying it is an absolute imperative that we sign a number 9, and we thought that we may have identified our man in Benjamin Sesko. The price was right, the player looked right, he was a development striker. Much of what you had predicted on Le Grove was coming true, and now it looks like it's most likely not going to happen. It looks like he's signing a new contract at Leipzig. But my hottest of takes is I have looked around. I have looked under all the stones. I've looked at all the number 9s available on the market, and there is no one that I think we should be going big on this summer. And we need to be thinking about how we reallocate funds and find some players in different positions. It might mean that we need an attacking midfielder. It might mean that we obviously need cover for Bukayo Saka. But could it be that we're looking at a superstar wide player rather than a superstar number 9? And right now, that would be my preference, looking at all the players. Victor Osimhen today linked with a £76 million move to Arsenal. That's a no for me. I don't think he is what we're looking for.
Napoli. Now the Chelsea money's gone. They are begging. They are twerking all over the internet. They're speaking to anybody that will carry the message. Please, Arsenal, take that Sesko money and drop it in our pockets because we can't move without that cash. I think it's absolutely wonderful. My hottest of takes today is going to focus on plan Bs, Matt. I think Arsenal, I think the tradition under Mikel Arteta is he gets a plan A, and unless he gets slapped down early in the summer, we can't have a good transfer window. Unless he gets the fans' hopes up and has them dashed, we can't maneuver. I think Arsenal getting a big rejection early on the window will inspire us to maybe a more intelligent, more thoughtful signing. I sometimes wonder whether the plan Bs are actually better. We go for, Lisandro Martinez, the obvious at left back. Arsenal were caught out when the price went up to 65 million. We ended up with Zinchenko. And whatever you think about Zinchenko, he played a large role last season in taking Arsenal to second. Man United were not very good. And Lisandro Martinez hasn't quite done the deal. We all fell in love with Caicedo. There was potential that Arsenal were moving for him in January. The deal didn't happen. And then Arsenal got Declan Rice in June. And I think we all know who is the better player now. And the final one, Mudryk. We were literally on our knees praying to the football gods to get that deal over the line. It didn't happen. And we ended up with this output machine called Leonardo Trossard. So I'm not too worried about the Sesko news. I'm kind of with you a little bit. I think that we might shift attention elsewhere. There aren't many strikers that really fit the bill, but we are going to move into the first topic of conversation. It is Sesko says no. All the stories over the last couple of weeks, John Cross saying that Sesko had said yes. The fee was rumored to be 45 to 55 million pounds. David Ornstein had that as his transfer to watch last week, but he did caution the player might sign a new deal. Been doing a little digging around, Matt, and the new deal is an increase in wages, not to Premier League standards. So maybe he's gone from 20 grand a week to 60 or 70. And it's a 1-year extension to the deal that he had. The new deal does not have a release clause. It has a gentleman's agreement. So what I understand about a gentleman's agreement is it is that Leipzig will be fair in the fee that they ask for the player. And the reason that we should believe that they will honor the deal is Leipzig take players early on in their journey, and they usually take players away from clubs like Chelsea or Aston Villa that can pay them a lot more because they promise them minutes, elite level development, and their whole model is predicated on being the best springboard to better things. And they've got a great track record. So they won't be Harry Kaneing Sesko next summer. So the gentleman's agreement gives me a little bit of hope that maybe Arsenal might wait for him, but we'll see. But overall, Matt, he could jump really high. He could shoot with his left and right foot. He had a lot of power. He's only 21. He scored in 2 leagues. He looked really, really fast. He menaced Madrid when Leipzig should have beaten them, really. I mean, they were the better team. Are we a little bit disappointed that we didn't get our target here? Or are you kind of rolling with Arsenal fans' view that he was really raw and probably wouldn't have got a lot of minutes this season? What do you think?
I think I would have loved him. I think he was absolutely perfect for what we're looking for in terms of profile, in terms of opportunity to grow. I think he could have taken that role and played 20 odd games. But what I do like about it is the fact that it tells me that his agents are smart. And do you remember about a week ago, we were saying, could Chelsea swoop in and sign him? And one of the reasons why you said they wouldn't be able to do that was because you said he's been very careful about how he's built his career. And I think this is further evidence because I think they've looked at it and they've gone, where's the best place for you to develop? You're 21 years old. Is it to play 40, 50 games next year? Or is it to go and play 20 mainly off the bench? And they've decided the best thing for his development is to stay there. And I actually think it is the right place for him to stay. I think it's really, really smart. I like players who back themselves. They don't try and get the big move. They know how good they are. And I think it's really interesting to look at when he scored those goals. So the first half of the season, he was not anywhere. And then he had that great run where he scored like 8 or 10 goals in the last 12 games. And I think that's going to give him the confidence that he can have a 30 or 40 goal season because it's like he finally cracked it. And I think, it's the right thing for him. And as much as I don't like to say it, I am impressed by the player and his agents for coming to that decision, because sometimes you can just be like, let's go and make it happen.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think that he would have been a very raw signing. I think we've all overhyped him because we've been watching the videos. I don't think we would have seen much of him before Christmas. And then you're kind of living in a world where you have to hope that he bangs in the back half of the season. I think an extra year of development, it does a couple of things for him as a player. Firstly, the Arsenal rumours have done him plenty of favours. Now everyone in Europe is like, if Arsenal were interested in this player, we've got to keep tabs on him over the next year. The second thing is, he wasn't coming to Arsenal to be a main man. He was coming to Arsenal to back up Eddie Nketiah and shift Jesus.
He wasn't coming to back up Eddie Nketiah.
Sorry, he was coming. He was to replace Eddie Nketiah.
Yes.
Sorry, missed there. I think if he stays Red Bull for another year, if he does what you say, if he goes into full Haaland mode and he scores 30, 35 goals next season, he gets a Premier League move. He is the main man when he moves, and he gets main man money. No way would Arsenal have offered him 250 grand a week. They might have offered him 100 at best to put him on parity with other players that's occupy that position in the club. But if he stays for another year and he blows up and he gets his big man confidence, he'll be a main man next season. So annoyingly, I think that this is the best move for his development. And this is the second time this summer that this has happened, because Jarrell Hato had the same thought process. I'm 17, 18 years old. I could go to Arsenal and sit behind Ben White or whoever in defence because he could play right across defence, or I could be captain material at Ajax and get 3,500 minutes and up my value in the process. Like, we all forget, William Saliba was in the at the training ground early on in Arteta's career, and he ignored him for 2-3 seasons, and now he's the best centre back in the world. But he really had to work hard for that. So I think it's a good move for the player.
Yeah, and also, yes, Arsenal's different, but I think you can look at players who have moved to the Premier League just when they're very hot, especially Chelsea. They brought up so many talented young players with big reputations, and you look at it and you go, that's what happens when it goes wrong. When I don't get the minutes, when I don't get the coaching, when I'm not given, the opportunities to fail. And I think it's really important because next season, I think Arsenal are going to go all out from match day one and feel like every drop point is a potential disaster. There's not going to be any of this feeling our way into the season experimenting, because we'll be aware that we can win every game in the second half of the season, bar two, and not win the league. And so there's going to be even less room for experimentation. Think of the amount of minutes that Eddie got at the beginning of this season. I don't think they're going to be on offer for a striker. I think if Kai Havertz is fit, he's going to be starting. And I do
Kai
think,
doesn't get injured.
and I do think that we've got a dark horse potentially in Gabby Jesus. Some nice pictures of him on the treadmill, but he's going to be stinging, and he's playing for his he's playing for the next 7 years of his future next season.
What, Jesus?
Yeah.
He's got to get it right, hasn't he? He's got to get
it's just like he's at that age. He's 27 years old. Probably got 6 years left of his career. If he doesn't have a good season at Arsenal, he's playing at Besiktas in 2 years.
And doesn't it just show you as well the fragility of a football career? This is a guy that's won 4 Premier League titles. He's a proven winner. He's come to Arsenal, had a good season. He's had one bad season. And if he has a bad season next year, it's Tottenham or Everton. If he has a good season, then he gets to stay at Arsenal, or it's Madrid and Barcelona, and the top teams in the world are going to come in for him. Paris Saint-Germain.
But I do like it when players back themselves. Bukayo Saka backed himself massively. I think he was, being paid less than 90% of the squad at one point, but he was waiting and waiting and waiting because he backed himself to have a killer season, make himself even more indispensable, and got his 275 grand a week deal. In baseball, Aaron Judge did the same with the Yankees, where he said, I'm not going to take that offer. I'm going to have a season. I'm going to show you what I've got, and then I'm going to put a price on the table, and you're not going to be able to do anything other than to sign it. So I like Sesko's attitude here.
Yeah, I like his attitude. And I've got another question for you, Matt. We all want a striker. We're desperate for it. I feel like we've been having this tall boy summer idea for 3 seasons now. Arteta and the club haven't really answered it. They've kind of answered it with Kai Havertz, and maybe being a little bit unfair there. We scored 91 Premier League goals last season. Is a striker, a backup striker, is it really an imperative when we've got goals coming from so many places? Do we need to go into Haaland mode to take it to the next level, or do we risk? The risk is that you try and do a Haaland and you end up with a Darwin Núñez.
Yeah, I think it's true. I definitely think there's some reticence on the part of Arsenal to pull the trigger on strikers. When you look at all the players Arteta has signed, he's still yet to sign a proper number 9. And I wonder if it's just a position that's harder to guarantee success from by using data. Like, I think there are early parts of this season where you're looking at Kai Havertz and the data is going, well, he's been brilliant at duels and he's been done really well at this, even when he wasn't passing the eye test. But when a striker misses chances, everyone notices, and there's no covering up or papering over the cracks on it. So there's definitely a bit of a blind spot there with Arsenal and strikers. I'm amazed we haven't done more in that place. But I think it's imperative to get one if we want to win the Champions League. I just think you just need someone who can score goals out of nothing in the box, and we don't have that. But I think we could make a really good push for the Premier League without one this season.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm more worried about backup for Saka. I don't actually think we need backup for Saka. I think we need somebody that can rotate in and out with him. And you could really invest in a top wide player that gives you explosiveness, that gives you unpredictability, that gives you output. And I don't know, what would you value more going into next season? Somebody that can give us more optionality with Saka, or a backup 9 when you've got Jesus and I won't say Eddie. We know it's going.
Yeah, I think I mean, a backup for Saka is the number 1 priority for me, because I think he had a good season last year, but he was really hampered by being so tired and overplayed through injury. And I just think there are quite a number of players on the wide right who are within a price range that we could get. I don't understand why we're not in the conversation for Michael Elise. I just think he'd be a great backup. The one, if it was my money, then I'm just going in and getting Rafinha. You know, he's Champions League quality. He's playing at Barcelona, but he's Premier League proven, and he's the right price. You know, 40 to 50 million, dealing with a club that has financial trouble. So that would be my number one priority, is getting that right-sided player who can not just take minutes, but challenge Bukayo Saka. I think Rafinha could be a Trossard for us.
You think Rafinha could be a try? Do you think Rafinha is going to be available, Matt?
Yeah, I think Hans Flick has already said he doesn't fancy him. I think he's always been on the cusp. He's always been on the edge. I don't think he's really quite established himself, but his output is strong. But the biggest thing for me is Premier League proven. If I could buy every player for Arsenal from the Premier League, I would, because I think it just creates a higher level of certainty around transfers.
I like that. All right, let's move on.
Who would you go for wide right?
I mean, I really, really like Pedro Neto. I feel like he is the complete wide player who gives you everything: pace, control, explosiveness, a bit of unpredictability. It's just the problem is the most unpredictable thing about him is whether his hamstring is going to last for 90 minutes over a game. And it's not often he gets past 25 appearances. And we've fallen into this trap before. Robin van Persie, like amazing player, but never available. We had him available for one season and he was incredible. And then Man United got a full season out of him. So I would like somebody that lived in that world. I'm trying to think of who in the Premier League would kind of fit that billing. I don't know. Matoma didn't quite hit the mark towards the back end of the season. I know it's a mad one, but Jared Boehm is a very unfashionable player, but he consistently delivers massive numbers for West Ham. And you know, he's not the one. He's not the one, but you need to find. We need an output merchant there, because if the player we bring in isn't an output merchant, they're never going to rotate in with Bukayo Saka. So I don't know. I'm not really as in tuned with players that I like, but Pedro Neto is the perfect player minus the availability. All right, let's move on to the next topic of conversation. Fabrizio Romano has been on one today. Fabrizio Romano has just been dashing my dreams all day long. We know that Arsenal need a number 6, predicated on Thomas Partey exiting the club. Out of the blue today, Fabrizio Romano has announced that Douglas Luiz is heading to Juventus in a swap deal for Weston McKennie. I think that this is a completely insane deal. I don't understand why a player that's just taken Aston Villa to top 4 would be considering this, but he is, and it sounds like he has. Matt, what's going on here? Because the last time swap deals were in fashion, a lot of illegality was happening, and there are still things going through the court system today with overinflating book prices, and you say it's 90, we'll say it's 60. I'm not making any accusations here, Matt, but I don't understand why Aston Villa would swap Douglas Luiz for Weston McKennie, who's already not had a good time in the English league.
I mean the person, Jason Andrew from the BK Invincibles, who has always got great information or thoughtfulness around these types of things, said, look, this looks like a 90s style Calcio deal. But he says Villa are American owned, so I get it branding wise. Western works for awareness stateside and jersey sales. And I think the combination of something like that and a combination of not wanting to strengthen rivals in the Premier League is at play here. I think they were just desperate not to sell him. I think Unai Emery probably said, I don't need to get involved in everything, but do not sell our best player to Arsenal, my old team, who the most important thing is that they don't succeed. But there's got to be a bit of that. It clearly seemed like anything but the Premier League. And the thing that surprised me, and maybe this was my sort of cue, was it felt like there was an obvious deal to be done, which was Smith Rowe for Luiz, but Smith Rowe plus a chunk of money, and it could help their PSR situation. They get a player that they want. Smith Rowe gets Champions League football. Why couldn't that work? Or so, so I'm sure that even Manchester City were being linked with Douglas Luiz, Liverpool were being linked with Douglas Luiz. They could get more cash from the Premier League. So something is up. What do you think? You're on mute.
I don't understand it, Matt. I don't understand why Douglas Luiz, at the peak of his powers, he's like 25, 26. He's Brazil's number 6. He's had an absolutely outrageous season. Aston Villa's achievement of getting into the Champions League, for me, is the biggest shock since Leicester won the Premier League. Douglas Luiz was there for almost all of the minutes. He's an exceptional player. Some people say he's a bit boring, but I think quite a lot of players that we've signed, Arsenal fans have said, are boring. I think he could have done an excellent job stepping in for Thomas Partey if we exited him. And I understand the allure of Juventus, classic Italian club, dripping in prestige. You know that they're going to be in the Champions League every single year. I just wonder why his agent wasn't like, we want to be where the action is. We want to be where the eyeballs are. We want to stay in the Premier League. Like London's the best city in Europe, in my opinion. I mean, I know I'm a little bit biased there, but like, why wouldn't he take the move to London? Probably get a nice fat wage. It doesn't really make sense to me. And you're right. Yeah, Aston Villa definitely wouldn't have wanted to sell to a rival, but they're trying to pinch from Chelsea right now. They're trying to take Conor Gallagher. So
yeah, and bidding wars. I mean, with City, Liverpool, and Arsenal interested, you're looking at potentially upwards of 70 million for Douglas Luiz. You could easily see it happen. Then you've got the fact that we've been interested in him for about 3 years. And when we were first interested in him, it was about 25 million, and we were all saying, don't do it. We've all changed our minds now. We've all cottoned on, especially after that performance he put in earlier this season. So, yeah, very, very strange. And, I think it affects our transfer strategy. I think Douglas Luiz was a really great way of spending 60 million and replacing Thomas Partey. And remember, Thomas Partey is on 250,000 of wages. I don't think Douglas Luiz is coming in on 250. So it would have been a really great deal for us to get done. Another plan B. Another plan B
indeed. Who else would you go as a number 6? Do you still? I mean, you said the other week that you fancy a bit of Bruno,
but I think Bruno might be too expensive. And it reminds me a little bit of Caicedo last year, which is the last thing you want is to have other clubs involved in bidding. And what was clear about Declan Rice was that he only wanted to come to Arsenal. Whereas I'm sure that Douglas Luiz wouldn't really care whether it's Arsenal, City, or Liverpool. I think they'd all be much of a muchness to him. And I think it would be the worst place to go, because I could see this going the same way as Caicedo, where it gets bid up to an amount that is beyond his true value. But not anymore. He's getting swapped with a player who's not that great, in my opinion.
No, I like the idea of Bruno, but it does seem like Man City are going to pull the trigger on some horrendous release, 120 mil. So we'll see how that goes. Matt, I want to actually move on to a really big topic, because me and you had a bit of an argument on Twitter. It's the Italian suits debacle. I wanted to get your take. So for those that are watching live on Twitter right now, Matt tried to get down with the youngsters that were flaying me online, and I want to show you. The kit. So this is what the Italians are wearing. It's a Giorgio Armani special. It's absolutely disgusting. It is. I cannot believe an Italian fashion house signed off. It looks like it's an unlined suit jacket. It's got 3 pockets, like a cardigan. It's got Italia written on the back. The gap between the shirt and the breast of the blazer is about 44 inches. Some of the players' outfits didn't actually fit. I'm looking at Donnarumma. I mean, I don't know how anybody allowed him to roll these off the rack and take a photo with them. I think it's the worst thing that Italy has produced in a very long time. The only player that looks half decent in it is Jorginho. And I just want to show Matt some of the previous Italian attire because I thought it was funny. I was like, you expect Italy to be fashion forward. Let's take a look at this one is from Euro 2020. This one is another rascal version. It kind of looks like the sort of jackets that waiters wear.
Yeah, that is. But what you think that this one's not an improvement?
The top button doesn't really do it for me. The top button makes it look like a waiter's outfit here.
Or chefs, yeah.
They look like chefs. I mean, I like a round neck.
No, this is awful.
Yeah, but this is also awful. But then I've got one more to show you.
You're going to have Perlo or yeah.
Look at this one, Giorgio Chiellini. This one is I'm on the Soccer Bible website. This one, I don't know what year it is, but this is like classic. This looks like it's expensive.
But that doesn't look like summer to me. That looks like November, sort of cold, aligned suit. I love the new one. Now,
you like this?
I like this because you know what I like? I like the fact that it looks like it could be 1970 and they could be sort of down in the south of Italy. It's got a real retro feel. The pleated trousers, the light blue feels very Azzurri, classic. I think, and it's classic. I feel like it's classic Armani. He's gone, what would I want to wear? Now, there is one thing I will say. That Italia written across the back is a fucking abomination. My God, that is bad. But
let's just pull up a little picture of like the video of this. You watching this? Like, look at how ill-fitting this is, Matt. Look at the sharp line at the bottom. It's not lined, so it looks cheap. Look at the gap between the jacket and the blazer. Oh my gosh, it's awful, Matt. It's awful. Anyway, we'll stop talking about attire. Who's
doing? I actually went and tried to find some of the other club suits. I've always loved the club suits. My favorite being the Liverpool Spice Boys when they all turned up.
That was a classic.
In the white suits and then some of the eyewear there. I mean, it's all come back in fashion, but those small round glasses that the Spice Boys were wearing were absolutely hilarious. And I was trying to figure out, England tend to swing wildly between, they're like 1 year they're H&M, and then the next year they're like Richard James. Like, they don't really have DNA when it comes to a suit. It's just,
isn't it?
One year it's Next, and the next year, it's Paul Smith.
My take is, I want an elite fashion house. I want every single player wearing a suit that I could never afford, and it brings me into the brand. I want those players looking $1 million. They're all, they all weigh nothing. They've got 2% body fat. If you struggle to make a footballer look good, you've really messed up. And I think Armani has messed up there. I like a good tailoring plan.
I've got an idea. You've seen Bukayo Saka in that white Aim Leon Dore suit. No shirt.
Yep.
Football boots on.
Yep.
Some very fancy gold jewelry.
Yep.
What about if we just put all the players in there?
Put all the players in Aim Leon Dore, and you're not getting any complaints from me. Bukayo Saka looks absolutely electric. That's what young people should be wearing. People are up on my feet and they're saying, you don't get it. You don't get it because you're old. Yes, I might be old, but like, bad tailoring. Like, I'm sorry to any youngster.
Do you think Gareth Southgate could pull off the white baggy suit with no shirt on underneath?
No. Gareth Southgate can't pull anything off. He can't pull anything off. But the Aim Leon Dore stuff with Bukayo Saka is amazing. I love those boots as well.
Yeah.
Like the New Balance boots haven't quite got the edge that some of their other stuff has, but the latest ones with the gold on them, they look lovely.
Yeah, I hear.
Okay, all right, let's move on to the next topic of conversation. Manchester United's new era started quite a while back, and Radcliffe said that the first thing he was going to do was fix the holes in the roof, and you were applauding it, Matt. You were applauding it. Then they started getting into they don't like how messy the training ground is. They were absolutely furious about that. They've been banging the table in all the ways that you would expect a new ownership group that might not be the full ticket would bang the table. Well, they've done a review of Eric Ten Hag. They've spoken to Thomas Tuchel, and Thomas Tuchel said no. Today, it was announced after 3 weeks of Man United trawling the club for the dregs of European football management, they've come back empty-handed and they said, Eric, let's go home together. Let's stick it out for another year. Matt, as statements go for a new era ownership, how does this rank for you as a statement of intent?
I don't think it's the worst statement of intent for Manchester United. And the reason for that is Manchester United have made so many bad decisions over the last years. Just look at some of the players they've got on mega contracts. And having made those decisions, having made their bed, they're forced to lie in it for many, many, many years. And I think what is quite clear is they don't 100% believe in Ten Hag, and they would have liked to have found a replacement. They've looked at the top managers who they think could do a job, the really top ones, and I'm talking about, the Thomas Tuchels. None of them could work out, and they made an assessment that it was better to keep Eric Ten Hag and wait for the right person versus jumping and trying out Thomas Frank or jumping and trying out McKenna from Ipswich or whatever, which could feel like another costly, expensive mistake. So I actually think it's a decent statement of intent. Finally, they're not just making crazy decisions, because I think some of those managers would have been crazy decisions. I think they're looking at it and they're going, Ten Hag is not an awful manager, and he can't possibly be as bad as he was this season, next season. And we saw some green shoots with the FA Cup final win. And then I think they've obviously put out a bit of a PR beacon, because I think it was David Ornstein today said, remember that Ten Hag is the second most successful manager in the Premier League behind Guardiola. And I think that is quite a cute PR assessment of Eric Ten Hag. My personal opinion, fantastic. This is great news for us. Would it have been even better news if they'd gone for a completely unproven manager? I think so. I think that would be even better than Ten Hag, because I think it's a really difficult job to come into. But would it have been bad if they got a Tuchel? Yes, it would. So, I think we can safely assume that Manchester United are finishing 6th next year.
My view on it is you can't make this big fuss about doing an assessment of a manager, take 3 weeks to get to an answer, and then your answer is stick. I really think it can't be good for Ten Hag. I mean, like, imagine the pride hit that you're taking there. But the bigger picture for me is Man United should be honest about where they are as a club, and they should start the hard work now. Take the hit nice and early. You can't take the hit and progress with Ten Hag. You can't invest in his ideas for another year. It's clear that he is not a top 2 manager. And if he's not a top 2 manager, then what are you doing? Invest in a young manager, or at least invest in a manager that can play the football the Man United wants to play moving forward. I don't think McKenna was the right guy, and maybe De Zerbi wasn't the right guy. But I feel like they're not moving anything forward. Like, unless you're going to say to Ten Hag, you're going to be here for the next year, we're going to exit a lot of players, and we're just going to load you up with kids. Your era of saying go and buy Casemiro is over. You're going to work with players under the age of 24, and we're going to recreate that Ajax team. Highly technical, ferocious in the press, and really fun to watch. And we're going to do a little bit of what Arsenal did, but we're going to do it the Man United way. Maybe it makes sense, but I don't know whether you can do that when you're Ajax in that league. I don't think you can do that in the Premier League. I think that they should have I think that they should find someone that the players could rally around. I'm not really sure the supporters are all in Ten Hag. I don't think. I think it's great news. I think it's great news. I'm with you. I'm not. I just can't believe that you finally get your hands on a club and your move is to just keep Ten Hag there. Like you just lose another year.
You
You're
know,
always
the best thing that can happen.
What?
Fixtures come out next Tuesday. Really tricky home game at Old Trafford against a good opposition in the first game, and they lose. Because I think Ten Hag could just about be okay if he gets some momentum, but an early home defeat, because it was the home defeats that were so painful to Man United last year. An early home defeat in the first or second game, and everyone is going to go, I cannot believe we've kept him. I cannot believe it. The moment that happens. So let's pray for an early Man United home defeat next season.
Yeah. And the reality of where Man United are right now is they are at least 5 years. Any team outside the top 4 is at least 5 years away from a Premier League title push. I just don't know why you would delay a year. I just don't understand it. But that's where they are. And that works well for Arsenal because Ten Hag is certainly not better than Mikel Arteta or Pep Guardiola. So good news for us. All right, Matt, let's talk about plan B options. We've kind of danced around it. Arsenal have been world class at moving on from disappointments. As you look at the Arsenal squad right now, as you look at the Premier League right now, and you've had a little bit of time to distill where the season ended, where are you going to put your budget? Where do you want to see Arsenal spending this summer? You've got 4 players. I'm giving you 180 million to spend. How do you want to see the investment distributed?
Well, it's sort of shaken out a little bit because of what's happened with Sesko. Because I had like a fairly modest 50 million or so associated to him. But for me, maybe that means that we invest more heavily in midfield. My number one choice now is Bruno in midfield. I just think Premier League ready, plays every game, durable, good going forward, good going back. Then I would look for a right winger for depth. And my personal preference is Michael Elise. I love him. I just really like watching him.
And I think 5 million, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm just like, why would
Woof.
we not go in for him? The only reason is because we can't guarantee him. You know, he's obviously playing where our best player plays, Bukayo Saka. However, I think there'll be enough opportunities for him, and I think he's still young enough that he can be developed in a way. And then my third player would be Branthwaite of Everton. I think we're
disappointed because he didn't get his England call up. Do you think that was unfair? The amount of minutes that he put in this season?
It was unfair because there were players who played less who were getting the go ahead, and he's left-footed. And guess what? We really, really need a left-footed centre half, and I think he should consider himself very unfortunate. But it's good because I think he could have done really well at the Euros and surprised a lot of people and would have had a lot of eyeballs on him. So I think now's the time to go. Everton with PSR issues. Why wouldn't we go looking? So Branthwaite, Bruno Guimaraes, and Elise would be my 3, and then a left back, backup left back, but I'm more flexible on that. But those are the 3 for me. Supposing Bruno is 90, Elise 35, that would be 125, and then Branthwaite 50, 175.
I like that. That's a nice complete set of players that you've got there. I'm going to spend. Listen, I'm going all in on a striker. I need a summer where we get a number 9. I'm going to put 65 down on Evan Ferguson. I'm going to roll the dice. Listen, that guy was disrupted mid-season, had a few injuries, but I've seen the Harry Kane in him, and I can't unsee it, Matt. I can't unsee him. So Evan Ferguson at the carpet. It'll explode back half of the season, and he could be part of the run that takes us to the Champions League final. That's how confident I am in that guy's talent. I need a backup for Bukayo Saka. I like Williams. I like his power. I like his speed. I like that he's fairly robust. I think he could be a good signing for us. So what am I? I'm up to 125 here, Matt. Left-sided centre back. I like Branthwaite. I really do. Like I like the fact that there are eyes on him, but they're not as intense as they are on like a Diamonde. Sporting would probably go for more money. I think we could get him for 50. So I like that move. And then I don't really know where we go with the midfielder map, because if Thomas Partey says I'm going to stay for the final year of my monstrous contract that nobody else is going to give me, and I love London and I've just got engaged, we're not going to sign another 6. Our 6s are Declan, Jorginho, and Partey, and that's a pretty good set of 6s. Declan never gets injured. Jorginho did a great job. You know, the lack of physicality, well, he showed that didn't really matter against Liverpool. Thomas Partey's Thomas Partey. When he's on form and he's got his head right, he's one of the best. I wonder whether we invest in a left-sided 8. And I'm going to go in with a cheeky bid for Frankie. Little 20 million.
You know, he's
just
missing
so I
the
can stay
Euros.
within budget. I know he's missing the Euros. I know.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't think you can say Pedro, not have Pedro Neto for injuries and then go.
No,
Frankie.
I know.
He's literally made of glass.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the idea of he's playing in La Liga. Imagine that in the Premier League.
100%. I don't know who we'll get a left-sided 8.
Yeah,
but we have to find somebody, right? If Kai's going to play as a striker, then we have to find somebody to come in at that left-sided 8 position. At the moment, I genuinely think it's going to be Partey sitting at the base and Declan pushing up. And I know people don't like it, but Arteta, from the start, has said that he wants Declan to expand his game to have left-sided 8 role.
I just think we saw Thomas Partey at the end of last season, and I just felt like the legs are gone. And you know, I can't unsee that Man United away performance.
Yeah, I know. But if he was as a rotation option,
yeah, but he's not a rotation option if we in that current setup.
He's not a rotation option unless we buy a really good left-sided 8.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about final topic of conversation today. Players exiting, Matt. You've had a little think about it. There isn't a lot of gossip in the ether, and I wanted to get your take on it because my big hope, and all of my big hopes, have been dashed. So don't listen to any of my hopes. I thought Aaron Ramsdale, who Arsenal, see as a £50 million player, apparently, thought he was going to go to Newcastle, Matt. But Newcastle have signed James Trafford from Burnley for 15 million. Ball-playing goalkeeper, much, much cheaper, has some Premier League experience. I mean, Vincent Kompany liked him, and now Eddie Howe likes him. Surely that shuts the door to Newcastle. So if Newcastle can't get Ramsdale, who's signing him, Matt? Man United aren't going to sign him. Chelsea have signed that keeper from MLS, and they've got a lot of goalkeepers. They've got Kepa coming back from loan. Then who else? Spurs, they've got Vicario. They don't need him. Liverpool don't need a goalkeeper. Ramsdale doesn't have a club to go to now. So
he's going out on loan 3 days before the start of the season when someone's first choice goalkeeper.
Bournemouth are picking him up or someone, right?
Yeah.
So who's going? Like Smith Rowe is holidaying like he wants out. Reece Nelson, I think he'll be like, listen, I'll be a homegrown for the next 10 years. Don't you worry about that, Mikel. Eddie Nketiah, the rumours, the Wolves, Palace, and a few clubs are interested. Do you think Edu could deliver a masterclass this summer that would bring in 120 million in sales? Or is that just the pipe dream we have at the start of every summer before reality kicks in and it's like 12-month loan, reams are in?
I think it's a pipe dream, but I think Eddie could be 30. I think Smith Rowe could be 15. I think Reese's could be 10.
No one's giving us 10 for Reece. He won't leave. He won't leave. He'll go
I think Ramsdale's a loan. So I think if we get 50, but remember it's 50 pure profit. But again, if we do that, there are not many things I will criticize Mikel Arteta for, but eroding value of players is one of them. And how you couldn't. I know Smith Rowe's been fit for the majority of this season. Like, so it's like, and if you have not found a way to increase his
And
value,
last.
if you've
It
not
was
found a way to increase his value beyond 15 million from an England international who scored in his debut and was the star boy, and we've got a song singing about Saka and Smith Rowe, and you had the chance to get 35 million for him last summer and you didn't turn it down, it's going to be fingers pointed on that one. But I can't see it. 15.
I agree. Fabio Vieira attracting interest from Porto. Would you bite? Would you bite?
No, I think we've got one more. I think we've got something to see from Fabio.
Are you eyeing him up for your predictions? Dark horse of
My
the
two
season. Are
dark
you going to take
horses,
it? Are you gonna
Fabio
take it?
and Fabio and Gabby Jesus.
Gabby Jesus. My word. My word. All right, Matt. Well, that
I don't know which one's crazier.
No, I don't either. That does take us to the end of the podcast. 1,300 people hanging in the room live with us. We want to say thank you. If you like that, you go to thegrove.co.uk and sign up for a subscription. Or if you just like podcasts, go to patreon.com/the Arsenal opinion. $5 a month gets you this ad-free and you get all the bonus stuff. Matt, we're going to be back with some Thursday therapy with Jacob Hawley, where we talk about our feelings and hopefully there'll be some updates and some movement in the transfer window. Then we'll be on with Johnny, which will be a members-only podcast on Friday. And then we might should we do some Euro 2024 stuff? Do we want to go there?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
England. Who are we playing? I haven't even looked.
Slovenia, right? Isn't it?
Slovenia.
Is it?
Oh.
I mean, I may be wrong, but it's. Is it Sunday night?
No idea. I haven't looked, Matt. I have not looked. But we'll look that up. We'll be back over the weekend. Thank you for listening. And on that note, I'm going to say ciao for now.